word. Philo means loving. Sophia means wisdom. So if we're a philosopher of nature, we're lovers of wisdom, basically. That's what they called themselves, philosophers of nature. And they prized wisdom and knowledge above all else. They didn't care much for the illusion. Hermeticism, a system of philosophy attributed to Hermes. It attempted to reveal the mysteries of reality through some of the mystery schools that they then further initiated, some Pythagoras being another main one. So basically, alchemy is also a practice of medicine. It works on a medicinal level. It's not an allopathic thing. It's more of a vibrational response. Okay, so I'm just going to give a brief history. I don't want to get too far into it since we're a little bit pressed for time here. But basically, the furthest we can trace this back, I think, is the... Do you? Okay. Okay, cool. So I have a problem with time.
45.
Okay, cool. So basically, the Chaldean, Babylonian influences are where we can really trace it back to. Concretely, I mean, people talk about Atlantis and stuff, which it could be. We just don't have any physical proof to correlate that. It was in the Ur region, which is basically Baghdad. And then alchemy was also involved in the Hebrew societies. Two of the most famous being Abraham the Jew, who was the supposed author of the book Nicholas Flamel acquired, as well as Maria, the namesake for Bonnie and Maria, which is like a water bath that we use. We'll actually use a container with water in it, and then our retort goes in the water so you don't burn the material that you're working with in the glass, so long as the water doesn't dry up. And then we got Egyptian alchemy, which is traced back to Hermes, the namesake of our philosophy. And a lot of our philosophy comes from what's called the Emerald Tablet, which was a supposed material that was made out of a gem or an emerald that had raised lettering on it as opposed to engraved. So it was cast, they made some emerald tablet type thing with this alchemy. Then we go into the Arabian stuff. I'm sure you've all heard of gibberish. Gibberish is like dude speaking in gibberish, right? So it's like, that was actually named after Jabir, who was an alchemist in Arabia. And of course, everybody knows the Chinese alchemy as well. European alchemy is really what we want to focus on because that's really what we do. I mean, a lot of our alchemy is European in origin, Rosicrucian specifically. These are some of the people that have studied. Nicholas Flamel, of course, came up with the wet method. Basil Valentine wrote a number of books on working with antimony, 12 Keys, a number of other books. And then Boleathes, Thomas Vaughan, he wrote some books as well. So basically I want to go into a little bit of the theory. The materia prima, or the chaos, the spirit world, the quintessence of all living things, begins its descent into the material world, and in the process creates this duality that you see, everything playing off each other. So this duality is composed of celestial nitre, we call it, and then celestial salt. And it's not nitrogen, nor is it salt. That's just what we call these energies, if you will. They're not even physical things, they're energies. It's through these energies, as they further divide, they become the air, earth, water, and fire energies. These are energies. Then those energies actually play off each other and create the three essentials. So if you've got fire and water elements, I believe that's mercury, isn't it? I believe that makes mercury. Mercury is that one.
Not the metal.
Not the metal, but the Alchemist's mercury. Yeah. That's the thing, the Alchemists called things stuff, but there's a number of reasons they did that. The first reason was code, obviously. They didn't want, I mean, let's put it this way. The defense contractors and all the corporations that want the edge and they have these businesses. Well, alchemy was like a technological advance for most people. So it was guarded. It was guarded. Acetone that you can get at the hardware store was like a secret that was sworn over. And I mean, it was acetone. So anyway, it's these salt, sulfur, and mercury energies then manifest and create all visible reality that you see. And we can prove that in the lab when we take matter apart spagyrically and process it. The beautiful thing about alchemy is that all of these theories and all of these philosophies that are bouncing around in your head are provable in the lab. How do I know there's life in matter? Because I can kill matter and resuscitate life out of it. No matter what I do to it, it's still in there. There's actually a number of realms. There's about 4 of them that the QBL shows us as matter travels into this dense reality. And as we do alchemy, we take vulgar material infrared. Well, anyway, we're actually moving up the tree when we work with alchemy. There we go. Thanks, Joe.
You're on that one, but not on this one. Move it over to the... there you go. There you go.
There we go. Cool. So this is where we are here in Malkuth. This is where we start. And oh, that's good. As we process the matter that we're working with, we get into higher realms as we process the material. The Ayurvedic system of alchemy I find fascinating because it applies to so many things. The origin of Ayurvedic is, I'm not even sure I can pronounce this, but Aru, which is science, and Vedic, which is life. It's the science of life. It's what the ancients tried to figure stuff out. Why is that? What is that? But they came up with a system that created 3, that they discovered almost, they didn't come up with it, but they uncovered, revealed a system with 3 separate influences on your body, on matter, on everything that vibrates in this dimension. Pitta is one quality, and it's compared to the mercury of the alchemists. If someone has a lot of pitta in them, they're very thin, wiry, like me, I bounce all over the place, I got a lot of mercury in me. You can't sit still. These are signs that you have a lot of pitta in your constitution, which is actually called prakati. The vata quality is a sulfur quality. The sulfur, not as in the mineral sulfur, but in the alchemical sulfur, which is oily in its characteristic. And so, and then you got kapha, which is salt. And kapha is more of a heavy type influence. If you're a kapha body type, you process food very efficiently. You don't need to eat that much. Thank you. guys. Yeah, if you're a kapha influence, if you have a kapha dosha, or you really don't have just one, you have influences. There's like 10% of this, 20% of that, 30% of this. You can actually find out your Prakati or your constitution by going to banyanbotanicals.com and do a quick quiz. This system is literally the key to health. You know, we're getting all over the place here with like Kiox Q10 or this or that or whatever. This is very basic stuff here. We don't have to go crazy. I mean, we just have to eat right. Food is medicine. The food is medicine. We're extracting this ormus, this prana, from food. When we extract it, we get rid of the waste. I forgot where I was going with that. So basically, I want to talk about a therapy that we use, or basically, what's behind this therapy? I mean, what does it accomplish when you have all these in balance, all of these influences balanced? When you have all these, the kapha, the pitta, and the vata influences all in perfect balance, you really are in a healthy spot to do some of the other stuff. Because if you're just fighting off things, you're taking up energy, you're not going to be able to focus it on this. So the key here is first balance your doshas. And then beyond that, what we're doing here, once we're in balance, is we're increasing the ojas, which is the ormus basically. It's ormus, or orms, or whatever you want to call it, prana, ether, whatever you want to call it. What we're doing is increasing the ojas in the body, which help with the health. So you got your dosha straight, then you're not sending off all kinds of weird energy and dealing with all these diseases and stuff. Then you increase the ojas and increase the vital essence in your system so that the container can hold this energy. And basically, Rasayana therapy increases the life force, ojas, and immunity of a person, and thus there is regeneration of cells and tissues in the body. Literally, Rasayana means the augmentation of rasa, the vital fluid produced by the digestion of food and concentration of prana. It is the rasa flowing in the body which sustains life. Rasayana in Ayurvedic is the method of treatment through which the rasa is maintained in the body at its highest level of perfection. And that's from Robert Bartlett's book, Way of the Crucible, which I will be selling over there. I just have a few, though. I couldn't bring a whole lot. But I highly recommend getting those books. Those books changed my view on reality, quite frankly. I mean, alchemy has been going on forever. It's interesting because we look at some of the prana and the ormus stuff with modern science looking back, but I want to reintegrate what some of the ancients were doing with, I mean, these guys had nothing but fire and vinegar and water, and they were making stuff that was so incredibly healing with just those things. I mean, they didn't have a whole lot of stuff to work with. So by increasing these ojas, we actually, the best things for this is gold and diamonds to increase the ojas. I'm not talking about vulgar gold or vulgar diamonds. This stuff has to be processed. I mean, we work with some pretty dangerous materials, especially antimony, mercury. So just, that's why I think Robert has done just such a tremendous service for our planet here right now. I mean, the stuff that he's put out is going to provide just such a tremendous value to us as we move through this period coming. So anyway, regarding to the cell salts, like I mentioned before, we're in gestation for 9 months, and we are absorbing these cell salts during that time. When we are born, we miss a few. So there's actually, you can tell by your sign, what kind of cell salts you'll need. But also beyond that, there's actually correlations between these things. Planetary correlations, both positive and negative, and metallic correlations. Everything has a correlation, like the organs have planetary correlations, and metallic correlations. So a kidneys are associated with copper. Is it copper or tin? Shoot, I totally spaced it. Copper, right? Yeah, I think anyway, it's copper and Venus. So if you had an issue with your kidneys, you would make an alchemical preparation with a product that has those energies. Because, like I mentioned before, this isn't allopathic medicine. This is vibrational medicine that instigates your organs to do what they're supposed to do. So if I get a tincture that's a Venus tincture that resonates at that energy, and I put that in my body, that energy resonates with my organ and gets it working again. So the thing that I like to do is you go to an Ayurvedic physician, you get diagnosed by them because we can't be our own doctors as much as we'd like to be because we're going to miss some things. Get your diagnosis and then make the alchemical tinctures, or the spagyric tinctures actually, for those herbs that they prescribe you. So if they prescribe you horsetail, get that horsetail and make it spagyrically. Because these things that you find in the grocery store, these tinctures or at Whole Foods or whatever, they're missing a very important part, which you'll see later. They don't put the salt back into the tincture. And that salt actually does something to the tincture with the alkaloids, and that's why it's not an allopathic effect. So the ego, like I mentioned before, it's when we lie to ourselves. And when we do that, we seem to manifest things in a different way. Some people are more emotional manifestations or mental manifestations or physical manifestations like I can't stop drinking alcohol, or I can't stop something that's a physical thing, or I'm thinking something outside of what reality is, that's a mental thing, or if I'm feeling the victim, that's an emotional thing. What we really need to do here is give birth, give rise to a fourth-brained being. And I think that's really what this whole thing is about. This is the beginning of an entirely different society that will be on this earth. And it will be a society of beings that are enlightened, fourth-brain beings. This is what's going on here. It's a natural process here. It's evolution, basically. We can't stop it. But there are ways to do this, to actually achieve this fourth brain state. And it's not done with the mind, because the mind will hijack the process and it will become ego-based. I need to become enlightened. Why do you need to become enlightened? What we want to do is achieve a state of pure being. And that's when things open up to you. So some of the things that you can actively do, these are practical things that you can do to achieve this state. One, cell salt therapy. I don't have a lot of time, so that's a whole nother thing. But I'd like to recommend a book. It was written by Robert's wife. Her name's Karen Bartlett. She wrote a wonderful article, actually, for the Alchemy Journal, which later became a publication on cell salts. And you can find it on lolo.com. It's probably one of the best ones I've read on the cell salts. So I would get that book and work on that. That's huge. And then we begin by purifying the blood. So how do we do that? Since the consciousness is in the blood, how do we purify that? We create spagyric tinctures based on planetary influences. There's 7 of them. I guess the sun really isn't a planet, but We make these tinctures based on plants that have the same energies of these planets, which are named after the days of the week. Monday is for the moon, obviously, so you would take a silver tincture or a lunar plant at a specific time during the day where that influence is there. And it can be broken down to the minute, because all of the influences are available at certain times of the day. If you wanted to get that influence at that exact day, you would do it as the sun is rising, though. So as the sun comes up, take your tincture and you're getting a double whammy. You're getting the effect of the planetary stuff and the effect of the elixir, and it really has a tremendous effect. Within 1 year, you can purify your blood, your consciousness, and some incredible things start happening. The psychic stuff opens up big time. Big time. Again, it's not an allopathic thing, it's vibrational. It instigates the organs to do their job. Some of these things are dangerous, you know. If your heart's bad, you're instigating your heart to work. Well, I don't know what's going to happen. I just don't know. But I think with the plants, it's relatively safe. So the minerals and the metals, everybody kind of wants to go into that. It's kind of fun. It's very dangerous, and it's killed many, many people. And so that's why it's just, I would focus on the plant stuff for a long time. Calcining horsetail is not the same as calcining antimony. You can die from antimony. You really can't die from smelling smoke from horsetail. So as soon as you get that down, you know, knowing exactly when to breathe, because I don't know many alchemists that wear gas masks, do you? How many? 40? Oh, 20, okay. Thanks. So how do we prepare a spagyric tincture? I'm going to give you practical instructions on how you can make these tinctures for yourself. You don't need to mess with caustic. You don't have to mess with lye, although it is fun, very. This is very safe. I want some of the people that are more intimidated to join this thing, to provide them an outlet. This is where we're using alcohol and plants. You can't get hurt. Well, actually, yeah, good point. I take that back. The alchemists used to have a saying, solve et coagula. Solution, coagulation. Really, solution, filter coagulation. We extract things, we put things into menstruums, we filter them, and then we coagulate them either by evaporation or other means. This is some ginseng that I prepared. If you guys think ginseng is good, try the spagyric tincture of ginseng. This is with alcohol that I dried with potassium carbonate. That is a caustic material, so you guys do want to be careful if you play with that. You don't have to, because it's the plant world. Grabbing the water-based things in the plant world isn't as dangerous as grabbing water-based salts from antimony. So you want to make sure your alcohol is very clean when you work with the minerals, as opposed to the plants. The plants, you can get some of the water-based stuff. But this is actually what I did here, was I took ginseng, dried it out. Well, it was already dried out. So I grinded it up in a mortar and pestle. Oops. I then dried my alcohol with potassium carbonate, which all I did was you put it in the oven, get it real dried out, put it in the alcohol, and then it creates a polar layer. The water layer sinks to the bottom, and then you've got virtually like 99% alcohol at the top. And so I put that with the ginseng that I grinded up. And I soaked it with some ethanol, Everclear. When I did that, after this, I then used a coffee filter, and I poured it through the coffee filter, and I got this material out, this elixir out, this tincture, I should say, tincture. And then you can actually evaporate part of it down to like a gum or a honey. That's the sulfur right there. When the mercury leaves, mercury's the alcohol. But one of the mercuries is the alcohol. But once the alcohol leaves, you've got the sulfur here. And if I burned that by calcination, I get the salt of sulfur. And this is how I did it. I just took a little Corningware thing with the sulfur and burned it. And that's not even how it ends up. That's just the beginning. To get it light, it's pretty difficult. It takes a lot of time. Maybe not difficult, but it's going to take some work. So basically, I want to just teach you how to do the spagyric tincture. So, like I said, you take the plant material, you grind it up, you dry the alcohol or not. You soak it, or I would soak it for like 7 days on top of a water heater or something. Give it a little bit of heat. The extraction seems to go better that way. Pour it through a coffee filter in a funnel, and then you've got the tincture, the tincture of it. You take that remainder material that's left in the coffee filter and you burn it, just like I showed you with the sulfur here. You actually burn the material that you extracted and created and turned it into an ash. You take that ash and put it back into the tincture. The ash is a caustic ash, and I'm not sure if manipulates is a good word, but it does something to the alkaloids in the tincture. It's not the same thing. If I took a spagyric tincture, it's not the same thing. You won't get the same effect as one of the tinctures that you find in the pharmacy or in Whole Foods or whatever. It's different. It works. It works really well. And we can even process matter beyond that. But since I don't have a lot of time, I suggest you all get Robert's books and dive into it. Because it's really important information that needs to get out. And so everybody mentions about alchemists trying to find this way for gold. Well, this is our gold right here. And I want to thank everybody so much for being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you have time.
Oh, do I?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
You got 15 minutes.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Do you guys have any questions? If not, that's okay too.
Yeah, we can.
We can get moving up there.
Okay.
Cool, let's do it.
Well, there's a question.
Oh, got a question?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Have you done any of these processes in magnetic fields?
You know, I really don't. I know some people that do, they'll like attach magnets on their retort and stuff, but no, I really don't. You really don't need to. These guys were very simple people, you know, they didn't have a whole lot. They made by with what they got. And the cool thing about Robert's books really is the guerrilla alchemy approach. You don't need $10,000 worth of glassware. You need a $5 test tube and a blowtorch, you know, or mason jar. His book goes into ways that you can do alchemy with very little. He's a very resourceful man, and he provides insight and ideas into doing alchemy and doing it on the cheap.
And who is that?
Robert Bartlett. Is there any other questions?
So with this picture that you come up with there, say for example, what kind of doses take
Yeah, I would take like a dropper full.
Repeat the question.
Oh, the question was, if he makes the tincture of ginseng, how much does he take? Right? You take about a dropper full of it, but I guess you can douse it probably as well and just see what's good for you. You kind of just go, you don't need a whole lot. But on the gross level, you need quite a bit more. But when you get into some of the subtler levels of matter, you need very little. To where when you're working with the metals, you need like a couple drops. Just a drop or two. And that's way more than enough. No, I don't necessarily sell the alchemy stuff. I believe it's medicine primarily, and so I just kind of make it myself. I have other things that I do. I don't sell it. I sell like aloe and stuff. But we're working on an agricultural supplement as well for hydro and agricultural industries. Does anybody else have any questions? Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Those influences, like you mentioned, can be accessed and tapped. So certain times of year, I think Don Nance actually talked about this a little bit with the gold. You can work with gold during certain times of the years. They do. These influences have effects on the work. So you will notice things like, why did this do this much here but not there? Or why did this? The influences are certainly at play, and to know all of those influences and to take that knowledge into the lab and do the work in the most efficient way will produce the most results. And that's why those three things were so important: the QBL, the astrocyclical pulsations, and the alchemy. They're all tied together. Those three things cannot be separated. Is there any other questions? Thank you, everybody. Let's go.
Thank you. Woo! Thank you. Love you.
I expect that we can probably arrange some carpooling up to the particularly pickup trucks work really well. People can sit in the back. You don't have to wear seat belts here, by the way. We also want to think about carpooling into Atlanta and ride sharing and things like that. Sharon has some ideas about that, and you can talk to her, and other people will be leaving at different times, so kind of chat it up and figure out when you're leaving and that sort of thing.
Excuse me, I would like to say that Sharon Rose is leaving this evening and taking her fabulous products with her, so we don't want her to do that. We want her to be able to fly home as product-free as possible. Check her out. She's got some specials going on. Thank you.
Next woman, Tom, go ahead before you go and see the things tonight.
I just want to know if hours and hours on these tiny little cameras.
We have 5, 6 hours.
Yeah, but it's on all the time. Are you recording it on that camera on the card?
I have, so yeah,
But they're on all the time. So I
not
was
when,
just wondering too.
not when someone's not home.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how
Every
many-
second of this,
That's amazing that you can.
Where are we headed, Barry?
How much of a
it depends on the card. Like, what we're using, we're 32 cards, or,
you're using a lot of
and then we dump it. And, we don't have to charge because we're using,
Yeah, I got
so it's actually going pretty good. It's
Nobody
Nobody else has even noticed that we're doing this.
Why? What do you mean?
Because
Why
not
would you
observed. Because it did not know when they're on and stuff. That's not
Power shot. Oh, I love it. It's so tiny.
probably 7 or 8 cameras.
Hey, 1100.
Yeah, but these are
But why would you want this if this can take photos and it's tiny? Photos and video. Why would you want
sound.
this?
Well, actually recording with internal sound anyway. This has a much larger resolution. It's more broadcast quality. So when I have to cut to that camera, it will look different. But we will do that once in a while. Yeah. So I have different, I have a wide shot on one, a close up on another, and absolutely, we're editing the whole conference together.
What do you do?
I'm doing it.
Oh, you're
I
the
do.
dude?
I'm the videographer.
So
So the thing is that when they do that, is do a little rough cut of the cutting, and it's going to be. And then the
free or is it?
oh no, they'll be a little. But, and
Just at the Hudson stuff.
but no, yeah, I'm gonna rush that out because everyone who everyone's so excited. And so they're probably July. I don't know that would be on very good.
What's his website?
Barry, you don't have business cards, do you?
Say that again?
Do you have business cards?
I don't. I didn't bring,
Let me give you my. Let me.
Okay, thank you. I didn't say it all the time.
Good talk, lady.
They feel the negativity go.
Nobody on the road is so very interested. But figure out the process, it's got to change.
Settled energies, girl. I think it's one, senior wings.
Plural, subtleenergies.com.
Thank you.
It's a process, the process is, I want to